Everybody remembers the very first time they saw a Rolls-Royce. Its unbelievably impressive and stately presence, its imposing yet elegant proportions, but perhaps above all else, the car's unrivaled sense of occasion. So let's ask ourselves the question, what are the ingredients of this magical Rolls-Royce formula? Is it, for example, the fact that Rolls-Royces feature the most highly hand-polished paintwork in the world, creating that unrivaled, rich, deep shine? Is it the classic proportions of the car, such that the height of every Rolls-Royce is exactly twice the height of the wheels? The fact that they have unique opposing opening coach doors, an impressive Pantheon grille with a spirit of ecstasy flying off the bonnet that dates back to 1909. These attributes all contribute to Rolls-Royce's sense of occasion and impressive appearance. But there's something else at play here, something altogether less obvious, that beautifully blends all of these ingredients to create an effect that is somehow more than the sum of its parts. Rolls-Royce summarised this effect in two simple words: post-opulence. So what is post-opulence? What does this mean? Well, it's a very simple concept. It is the concept, the notion, the idea of producing something of such intrinsic quality and craftsmanship that superfluous detailing is rendered redundant. So what do we mean? What we mean in very simple terms is that it would have been so easy for Rolls-Royce to take this car and to adorn it with kind of seemingly expensive, luxurious features. Things like, for example, carbon fibre mirrors, lots of spoilers and gashes in the bonnets and air vents, quad exhaust pipes. These are all things that people perceive as being luxurious. But Rolls-Royce has instead chosen the opposite and much more challenging and much more expensive route of actually going the opposite way and removing fussy detailing to expose the car's true quality and the craftsmanship that goes into building it. Let me take two really clear examples of this. If you look at this car, you might think that it looks like it's carved from a single piece of granite. Now that might be a bit of a cliche, but if you look closely, let's ask ourselves why that is. And if you look really closely, you see that this car actually has very few panel shut lines. Why is that a big deal? Well, manufacturers love panel shut lines because that means that lots of panels can be made and clicked together in the factory by robots. In the Rolls-Royce factory, there is no clicking together and there are certainly no robots. So they have all of the hand skills to be able to form panels in the old coach-built way. That means, for example, that we have no shut line that runs along here. So the spirit of ecstasy can sit on this beautiful expanse of paintwork. Similarly, at the rear, at the seat pillar, that panel that runs the whole way from the rear ring of the car right the way across the roof is one single panel. And that means that technicians have to effectively weld the panels simultaneously on both sides by hand to create this overall effect. It might sound like something small, but removing panel shut lines just adds to the appearance of overall solidity and minimalism of the car. This is my favourite angle of the new Rolls-Royce Ghost because it perfectly shows off that beautiful new illuminated Pantheon style grille and also these amazing dazzling new headlights which can actually see up to 600 meters at night. They are unbelievably bright at night. But really the front of this car and the new Ghost, the new grille is what it's all about. It is such a standout and defining feature of the new car. What Rolls-Royce have actually done is they've actually illuminated the grille using 20 LEDs reset behind the fins of the grille. That actually initially produced quite a dazzling effect against the highly polished stainless steel. So what they did was at the rear of each fin, they actually brushed the fins, and that had the effect of diffusing the light to create a more welcoming, glowing appearance at night. And it really looks spectacular when this car is turned on, just prowling around the countryside or indeed the city. The interior of the new Rolls-Royce Ghost is another great example of post-opulence, because it would have been so easy for Rolls-Royce to quilt this car with diamond stitching, to put diamonds within those diamonds, and I'm sure if you asked them they could even put a double or monogram within the centre of those diamonds, but all of that is fuss, and that is not true luxury. What true luxury in post-opulence is simply taking the finest leathers in the world and creating an environment so minimalistic and plush that its minimalism and tranquility is actually elevated luxury. It is opulence. In the rear of the new Rolls-Royce Ghost is of course the inner sanctum of Rolls-Royce luxury and opulence. The feeling of this leather, it is just so incredibly soft. We have these super deep lamb's wool mats your feet sink into, and just the overall impression inside this car, the smell of the leather and all of the great materials, and also the view both inside the car and also out through the windows, because from these elevated pavilion seats at the back of the Rolls-Royce Ghost, you can actually still see the spirit of ecstasy right the way at the end of the bonnet, leading the way. Inside, I absolutely love this open pore wooden finish, and if you pop open this button here, we see we have the rotary controller that's used to control lots of the car's navigation and infotainment features. Legroom is expansive inside this car, as you would expect of a Rolls-Royce Ghost, and we also have these beautifully finished picnic tray tables that pop down with a really cool screen that controls all of the car's infotainment features and also satellite navigation. At night time in this car is even better, because we can really enjoy that beautiful starlit headliner, and the starlit headliner of the Ghost actually features shooting stars. Rolls-Royce of course always innovating, and we have a great example of this in the doors. So the doors of a Rolls-Royce car have for some time now been electronically closing, but now they're also electronically opening, which just makes getting out of the car that much easier, and they can actually open like that on quite an incline of a hill, which just makes getting out of the car when the car is on a parked hill so much easier. You have the beautifully finished vents everywhere, the jing of the real metal. It is just such an opulent and beautiful place to be, with all of the controls you can see here for the seat settings along the left hand side. There are many different configurations Rolls-Royce offer in terms of their rear seat configuration. There is theatre seating, which is what we have now, but also lounge seating and individual seats and so on. One of the nicest possible places you could be sitting. So however enjoyable the Rolls-Royce Ghost is as a passenger, it's also incredibly enjoyable as a driver. And my favourite feature is just that, the absolute silence of this car. So just to tell the story of Rolls-Royce and silence. So Rolls-Royces pretty much have always been silent since 2003. As in, if you brought a decibel meter into the car, it would generally read 0. But Rolls-Royce are always innovating. So with the Ghost, they pushed it even more. And they asked themselves the question, what about the sound generated by some of the ancillary things around the car? For example, the sound coming out of the air vents, the sound the wipers might make, or the sound of hollow spaces such as the boot of the car. So you might be thinking, how do hollow spaces make sound? Well, if you take it to the extreme and imagine yourself driving a van, the van will make a sound at hollow space. So an empty space like the boot of a Rolls-Royce actually makes a very, very, very subtle sound. So what Rolls-Royce did was they went around the car to remove all of those ancillary sounds to create absolute silence. But that was actually quite disconcerting for passengers, as in it made them feel kind of sick when they were driving the car, because the human body actually requests and requires some degree of sound associated with motion. So what Rolls-Royce did is they pumped in a single sound wave that resonates with the interior pieces of the car and also the human body. And what this did is actually it made the car extremely comfortable to drive. So in a way, just as the Concorde plane broke the sound barrier in one direction for traveling at Mach 2 speed, Rolls-Royce actually broke the human sound barrier in the opposite direction. Whereas now, with the sound wave pumped through, it's literally as quiet as a car could possibly be. And it really adds to the driving experience, and it's something that distinguishes Rolls-Royces from any other luxury car. And that is so typical of Rolls-Royce. It's even evident in the car's sound system. You might notice this car has a Rolls-Royce bespoke audio sound system as opposed to any other brand, because any other brand sound system available off the shelf, even working with Rolls-Royce, wouldn't have produced the quality of sound of this particular system. We actually have subwoofers here. They're actually in the sills of the car, and also exciter speakers that are actually incorporated into the starlit headliner above to create an unbelievable sound quality. It's almost like with everything with Rolls-Royce. You might have heard of the Pareto principle, which is the fact that people invest 20% of effort will achieve 80% of the final result. Rolls-Royce almost work in the opposite direction, in that they would rather spend 80% of their effort perfecting that last 20%, and perhaps even 80% perfecting the last 1%, to get the absolute level of refinement and quality in every attribute of the car. You might also be thinking that this car is just a luxurious saloon for cruising around in, which is true, but it's also incredibly quick. This is an engine that produces 850 Newton meters of torque, 563 brake horsepower, and will do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. That, for a car that weighs over 2.5 tons, is incredible performance. It also makes a really nice sound when you accelerate. A kind of a deep but really powerful note, just like that, which is actually very pleasing as well, but never intrusive to the drive. The quality of the materials in here, as I said when I kind of reviewed the rear of the car, is just incredible. I really like the contrast between the open pore wood and, of course, these kind of really silver, beautiful, cold to the touch controls. The car is also incredibly light and delicate to drive. The steering wheel feels so nice. It is also so light, as are all of the controls. For example, this gear selector on the right hand side. And of particular note, actually, is the car's adaptive cruise control system. So with Rolls-Royces, we're used to the flag bearer system, which is a system at the front of the car that effectively analyzes the surface of the road ahead and pre-prepares the suspension of the car to absorb any of the bumps. This works in conjunction with the Rolls-Royce satellite navigation system to effectively ensure the smoothest ride possible. But with the Ghost in particular, there's actually something else that Rolls-Royce does, which is an extra feature on the wishbone suspensions at the front, which actually keeps the car super, super level and super, super composed and quiet and smooth to drive. And it really, all of these things combine to create a great experience, as does the view inside the car. So it's quite an elevated driving position. In fact, you're actually as high here in this saloon as you would be in many SUVs. So the view of the road is a great view. Also, we have the Spirit of Ecstasy twinkling in front, guiding the way as always, and the overall sense of well-being and relaxation in driving this car, between the silence, the lightness of the controls, and the quality, even the smell of the materials, really makes every drive a pleasure. So in summary then, the new Rolls-Royce Ghost is an absolute triumph of opulence, minimalism and restraint over perceived luxury. It is testament to the quality of the materials and the craftsmanship that went into building every element of the car. And while it wears one of the oldest names, Ghost, in Rolls-Royce's illustrious history, this car is absolutely packed with innovation, from its incredible sound system, its beautiful illuminated grille, its shooting star headliner, and its absolutely silent ride quality. It is an absolute joy to drive, a joy to own, and a car really you can be absolutely proud of. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it even a fraction as much as I've enjoyed experiencing this incredible car. Stay tuned for lots more really exciting sports and prestigious cars to come to the channel, Cars Unboxed, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.